what was the other best films?
Me, I did Chariots of Fire, was the first thing I ever did on, and I was just a young man, doing that. I then went on to Out of Africa, and I was working on that, and then I worked on Gandhi. So, those were the three best films, and I think I've done something like 104 movies since then. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
I've read that Catherine Bigelow took certain measures to ensure the final product was really authentic, like
Yes.
Having no air conditioning in the trailers and that. So was it a very different filming experience?
No, we all try and achieve things like that. It's again we've just shot the 18th for 20th Century Fox, and part of that movie takes place in Iraq as well. But we were shooting in Canada in the winter. So you just have to keep spraying the actors and make them look hot. Our problem in that film was that when they were supposed to be on the riverbanks at night in 100 degrees, we're actually on the riverbanks at night in like minus 20. So you could see all the breath coming out and the vapor. So we had to take that out in post production. Whereas Catherine wouldn't have had the money to deal with that type of thing. So. To take the time and make the actors look sweaty, it was a wise decision to just keep them as they are, keep them in packs and make them look authentic, But I don't think that's a big deal. I don't think that's, I think the authentic, getting the words right, getting their actions right, when he goes up to, take the bombs off the guy and, he can't do it. I mean, that's a twist that, that you don't normally do, for a guy to just say, I can't help you and more. I mean, it's one of the most dramatic pieces of the film, and when he says, I can't help you, and he walks away and, and just leaves him. I mean, that's still, we just saw that clip in the room, and there was absolute silence again, when he says, I can't help you, and, those sort of things, it doesn't always have a happy ending. And I think that's one of the things Catherine was trying to show, that, I mean, it's very much a sort of anti-war film, I think, to some degree. I mean, she shows how it affects people's lives, and, and I think she said at the BAFTAs, by seeing this film, we must always look for another alternative than war, So I don't think it's certainly not a pro-war film, that. I mean, it's trying to get the message across how much war destroys lives,
So, I heard that nearly 200 hours of footage was recorded. Do you know if there were a lot of tough decisions to make?
Yeah, well, again, Catherine is one of those, she's, when you work, I try to explain this in the room, when you work with Spielberg, he knows what his movie is going to be from the minute he starts looking at it, and he has it all storyboarded, it's all written out, it's almost like you're given a comic book and you're going to film that comic book. With Catherine, I think she works like a lot in editing, and by shooting so much material, it gives you the choices. And her craft is, I think that her real craft is not as much as shooting the movie, like Stephen shoots the movie he wants, whereas Catherine would shoot as much as she can and then she'll craft it in the editing room, and, certain things like when you shoot a close-up of an actor, Stephen, one of the few directors, again, that I know, he knows what word he wants from you, so he would never shoot you doing the whole dialogue. He'd just say, Tom, say boo, and you just go boo, and Stephen's like, right, got it, I'm out. You know what I mean? Whereas Catherine would shoot that over, and see everything, so she's got those options in editing,
Right, and so how would you respond to the criticism from Iraq War veterans that the Hurt Locker represents the conflict in Iraq inaccurately? Because Iraq veteran Kate Hoyt of the Huffington Post wrote, the Hurt Locker is in many ways inaccurate, and the inaccuracies have alienated most service members from enjoying this movie.
Criticism in every movie. I mean, you'll always find people that are critics. I mean, at the moment, it's quite interesting that, the British press are actually criticising the Olympics in Vancouver, where I live, and if you actually stand in Vancouver, people are having a wonderful time, but it's what people do. Alienating vets, I mean, I know plenty of ex-military, and, they've all written to me saying it's the best piece they've ever seen, and, it's hard to comment on criticism. I mean, there'll always be some criticism on anything, whether it's a war film or a Western, someone will complain that the horses were the wrong breed. I mean, it's, I think you have to sometimes look beyond the facts, I mean, after all, movies are entertainment, they're a form of entertainment, and, sometimes you have to take license, if you know, if the cowboy hat that the guy's wearing looks cooler, then, you know, maybe you just choose that one instead of that one. You know, it's choices, but she should be allowed to make certain choices as the director. And you know, I mean, the inaccuracies, I mean, if we say that the Indians always won the battle, then, you know, it's not right. But, you know, we don't set out when we make movies to make those mistakes, but invariably sometimes mistakes happen, you know, errors. No, I don't mean mistakes, I mean, you know, certain things that we don't get 100% right, you know, but we do our best to make it right, you know.
So which of the many films you've been a part of have you enjoyed working on the most?
Oh, I would probably have to say the X-Men series, because, you know, it's been 10 years of my life. You know, I'm one of only 3 filmmakers in the world that were actually part of all 3 movies. There was myself and 2 of the other producers on the movies, that we were the only ones who did all 3 movies. So, you know, because we moved from, the first one was in Toronto and we moved to Vancouver, so all the crew were changed up. You know, it becomes like a family. I mean, I've known those actors. I mean, you very rarely go back to a film, you know, that again, with our freelance status, you move on, you know, so I might work with you on the first film and I may not see you again for 10 years because your job and my job don't tally, you know, it's that type of thing. I mean, as a journalist, you know, you may come and interview me on a film and then I don't see you for 10 years, you know, but you're still my friend. But on X-Men, you know, we became like a family, and watching, you know, some of those actors grow up, like Anna Paquin was 16 when I first met her, you know, and she grew, and, you know, Hallie went through changes, you know, divorces, and she won the Academy Award while we, you know, so things change, you know. Ian McKellen became a Sir Ian McKellen, and Patrick Stewart just became Sir Patrick Stewart, you know, so to be part of people's lives for 10 years in our industry is pretty rare.
And so were there any other films you were rooting for when you were at the BAFTAs?
No.
No? No, sorry.
No,
I want to get Lee back to his delivery to his next appointment fairly soon.
Last one. Yes, I mean, I was totally blown away. I met Quentin Tarantino for the first time, and his enthusiasm for movies is so infectious. And you know, he often says on his film sets, which I learned, that, you know, when you've been working for 20 hours a day and you're standing there and everyone's exhausted and suddenly something goes really right, you know, Quentin sort of stands up and he says, "This is why we do it, because we love making movies." And he still has that enthusiasm, which I still do after 30 years of doing it, you know.
So finally, do you have any advice for budding filmmakers of Reigate College?
Well, I try to say to them, you know, that the film industry is a very difficult industry to get into, but it's not impossible. I mean, I did it. I had no connections whatsoever from the film industry, and you know, you just have to go and knock on doors. And, you know, it's like whether you're an actor, an editor, a director, you know, a filmmaker, is that you just have to know that it's what you want to do, and that hopefully that passion will get you into the doors, you know, and you know, you'll get a lot of doors shut in your faces, but one day someone will come along, and someone, if you want it badly enough, someone will give you a connection and say, phone this guy, and you'll get a handshake, and then you'll be doing it for a living, you know.
Well, thanks very much.
All right, Tom. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.